Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Fallen this amount before, and we've stood up as a nation and coped with it.
But prices will be higher for people to pay in their weekly shop. That's what, you know, that is the point. There's a shock effect, there's an uncertainty
Well, the shock effect is
and there's a trade effect.
On the British public, on grannies. You were saying a vote to leave would threaten dignity in retirement. Even Jeremy Corbyn, who's on your side, is criticising myth-making and prophecies of doom.
But even if you don't want to believe the Treasury, you've got the 9 out of 10 economists, you've got the International Monetary Fund...
We know this.
You've got the bank...
We've heard this
You keep saying we know this. It's a glib. Right. It'd be interesting if it was one or two organisations were worried about leaving, but the fact is every international organisation with any standing
let's move
all
on.
say the same thing about the economic effect.
Your scaremongering does not stop at the economy, does it? What comes first, World War III or the global Brexit recession?
Read my speech. The words World War III never
a risk to peace and stability
on
our continent, serried rows of white headstones. How do you get from a vote to Brexit in 3 weeks' time to serried rows of white headstones? Well, can you explain the steps in between?
Let me tell you exactly. Right, on our continent, in the last century, twice we had an enormous bloodbath between our nations. Europe's... Hang on, in the past. Again, can we be so confident that we've solved all of Europe's problems and all of Europe's tensions?
I can be confident we're not going to invade France and France is not going to invade us.
Again, you're being completely glib about it, right? Look, I sit round the European Council table. It can be immensely frustrating, but when you're there, you never forget that 70 years ago, these countries were fighting each other. I don't think we should take that for granted. Now, frankly, NATO has done the most to keep the peace in Europe, but the European Union has been a way of getting countries that used to fight each other to talk to each other.
Well, perhaps
and I don't think... No, but I think you are being incredibly glib about this. I think... Does Europe help to create dialogue in Europe?
Claims.
Yes, it does.
You made extraordinary claims. Perhaps you're the one that should be fighting
read the bit of the speech.
Disastrous party management.
Find me the bit of the speech that mentions World War III.
You said...
You won't find it. Come on.
You said serried rows of white headstones.
Well, there are serried rows of white headstones in Europe because twice in a century Europe went to war, and on both occasions Britain had to go and be part of that conflict, and we paid a very, very heavy price.
OK, we are going to have to move on. Can I just say, if you do want to ask a question, please put your hands up because we won't be able to hear you otherwise. Let's bring in Soraya Azui, just at the back there. And Soraya is just finished English Lit degree at Southampton and applied to do a Master's. Good for you, Soraya.
Hi, Soraya.
Hey there. I come from a family of Islamic Moroccan migrants, and because of that, we have the advantage of seeing news coverage in terms of politics and economy from both the Western media and the Middle Eastern media. And I do want to point out that I've strongly been wanting to vote into the EU. But to be honest, the entire campaign has been a complete shamble for it. I've seen nothing but scaremongering. I've seen no valid facts at all. I've seen no pros and cons. Everything that I've seen has just made voting into the EU look worse. And what I also find interesting is that we haven't even addressed the fact that Turkey are becoming become an ever-close union with the EU when they are under such heavy accusation by the entire Middle East for funding ISIS. How can you reassure us of staying in the EU and saying that there are no risks when there are clear risks, especially when it comes to ISIS, especially when you have turned away so many refugees at the fear of having them be extremists, and you're willing to work with the Turkish government that had a brawl in their parliament
Soraya, we've got it. Soraya, we've got it.
Soraya, let me take two issues you raised there. Quite right, too. One is the positive case for staying. I think there is a very positive case. I think we'll be better off as a country with more jobs. I think we'll keep our country moving forward. I think we'll be stronger as a country will get things done in the world, whether it's tackling climate change or, indeed, standing up to Islamist terrorism, which we face around the world. And I think also we'll be safer if we work together, strength in numbers, exchanging information about the threats we face. OK, now I'm going to answer your question about Turkey.
No. Let me finish now, because I've seen you interrupt many people beforehand. Let me finish now. That is not answering the question.
I was going to do Turkey, if you want me to do Turkey.
I'm an English literature student. I know waffling when I see it, OK? I'm sorry. But you have not answered my question. How can you reassure the people who do want to vote out, because I have many friends who want to vote out, that we are safe from extremism when we are willing to work with a government like Turkey, who want to be part of the EU, when, like I said, they are under heavy accusation. Which
I got it.
is like Saudi Arabia, who we sell military arms to.
Soraya, we're going to run out of time. I'll be really quick on Turkey. There is no prospect of Turkey joining the EU in decades. They applied in 1987. They have to complete 35 chapters. One has been completed so far. At this rate, they'll join in the year 3000. Now, there are lots of reasons to vote one way or vote the other way. Turkey's not going to join the EU anytime soon. Every country, every parliament has a veto. So I think there are lots of things to worry about in this referendum campaign. I absolutely think that is not a prospect. It's not going to happen. Should we work with Turkey? Nonetheless, because it's a neighbour country and because we need to do what we can to secure Europe's borders and deal with the refugee problem and the rest, yes, I think we should work with Turkey, but that's not the same as Turkey is going to be a member of the European Union anytime soon. It's not.
Clearly in it for the long run, so...
OK, thanks very much. Soraya, I'm so sorry, we're going to have to move on, because otherwise we're not going to be able to get other people in.
You need to fund it. You need to fund it.
Of course, look,
stop the cuts.
It's struggling. The NHS is in crisis. You've made a right mess of it. It's time that you and your government went.
Right, well...
Prime Minister...
Okay, let's bring in Denise Simpson, should we? Denise is self-employed from Essex, and I think she's quite angry, aren't you, Denise?
Yes, I am. Hello, Prime Minister. You said that Sadiq Khan wasn't to be trusted a few weeks ago, and then a couple of weeks later you appear on a platform with him. Isn't that an example of your hypocrisy and scaremongering over the course of this campaign?
But to Denise's point, you actually said about the mayor, when he wasn't mayor, the man supports IS. I mean, is that a grubby comment that you regret?
I certainly didn't say that about the mayor. I criticised some of the people
he
appeared...
You said that about Mr. Khan.
I criticised some of the people he appeared on a platform on. But look, in politics, you have to respect the will of the people, as we will in this referendum. The people in London voted for a Labour mayor. And I think the responsible thing for a Conservative Prime Minister is to say, look, we don't always agree, but where we can work together, we should. And on this issue, which does, frankly, it creates some pretty strange bedfellows. I've been out on the stump with Brendan Barber, former head of the TUC. I've been shopping with Harriet Harman. I'm appearing on Monday, I think, with the head of the Green Party. I've been making some new friends, I admit.
OK, so we've got a question about another former London mayor.
Sure.
Can you guess which one?
Ken Livingstone?
Fiona Kenny would like to pose the question. Fiona.
Hi, Fiona.
Given recent exchanges over the last few weeks, do you still think that Boris Johnson would make a good Prime Minister?
I think Boris is a very talented politician. He was a great mayor of London, and I've always said he's got a huge amount to give to public service and public life. I don't get to pick the next Prime Minister. That will be a decision made by the party and by the country when the country votes. And so I'm not going to put the black spot on anyone by saying who should or shouldn't do the job, but he's a very talented guy. On this issue, we disagree.
Does that work for you, Fiona?
I don't quite answer the question.
You haven't answered the question.
The question was, do I think Boris should be the next Prime Minister? I'm saying I'm not going to...
a good one?
I've said he's been a great mayor of London, he's got plenty of left fuel in the tank, and I'll let other people decide. And that's as far as I'm going to go.
OK. James Dexter set up an electronics business after being made redundant 12 years ago. James, hopefully it's going well. What's your question for the Prime Minister?
The question is, do you regret the personal damage that your scaremongering campaign has done to your reputation and legacy? Personal damage.
Well, James, with respect, I just don't agree. I think there's a very positive case for staying in a reformed European Union. It's about jobs, it's about Britain's strength and place in the world, it's about keeping us safe. But I do think there are real risks from leaving. And I don't want to wake up on June the 24th... Well, I don't accept it's scaremongering, sir. I am genuinely worried about Britain leaving the single market. So, to me, this is not about scaring anybody. I am genuinely worried about what would happen if we leave.
We are one of their largest markets. We're one of their largest markets, they're going to be banging on Angela Merkel's door saying, make sure you get a good deal with them because we need to keep selling.
No, this is a really important point, and I want to address. I think you've hit a really important point.
Lots more questions to get to,
Okay,
Prime Minister.
here are the figures, and I think they speak for themselves. 44% of what we sell in terms of goods and services goes to other European Union countries. If you take the rest of the European Union countries, 8% of what they sell comes to us. Now, you don't have to be... Right. Well, that's... OK, right. Well, so you can see the dynamics there. It's 44% of what we sell. It's only 8% of what they sell. What's the trade deficit? You're absolutely right, sir. We have a trade deficit when it comes to goods. We buy more of theirs than they buy of ours. When it comes to services, and remember, services are 80% of our economy, we have a massive surplus. So my fear would be if we leave the single market and we don't have that deal and we start a Canada-style process, 7 years of uncertainty, we end up with a situation where, yes, we get some free trade in goods, but we don't get the free trade in services. Canada's not getting the free trade in services, and they've got the best deal that Europe's ever done. Now, this isn't good enough for Britain. I want the best for Britain.
I've been getting away with it all my